Under the vast open skies of New Mexico, a silent struggle unfolds, not one of violence, but of hollow bank accounts and lost hopes. Beyond those stunning mesas and desert views are real people carrying their whole lives in a backpack, just looking for a roof, a little security, and some respect. The local landscape is rich with history, but lately it's also reflecting a harsh reality: families living out of cars, vets on the street, and kids slipping away into addiction.
I started throwing up. I literally can't breathe. Like, that shit makes me I'm throwing up and I can't stop because your empty stomach, you don't eat. You just keep going, you want to smoke, and like, I just have empty stomach, so I get acid reflux and I'm throwing up and nothing's coming out. I'm just, it's called heat driving. Like, you're just, like your
stomach just pumping.
This goes way beyond New Mexico. It hits on a much deeper issue we're all facing. What does it truly mean to be homeless in America? The numbers behind the crisis. Statistics on paper can seem distant, but in New Mexico, they tell a powerful story if we take the time to hear it. The latest point-in-time count conducted in early 2024 identified roughly 4,649 people experiencing homelessness throughout the state. It is a sobering total for a place known for vast landscapes and relatively small communities, with more than half of unhoused individuals concentrated in Albuquerque, the state's largest city. Among them, over 1,200 people were living outside beneath overpasses in public parks or inside vehicles, while others secured short-term shelter beds or transitional housing. Still, even these totals fail to reflect the full depth of the crisis. Researchers and service providers widely acknowledge that homelessness counts capture only moments in time, brief snapshots of a situation that changes every day. Across New Mexico, hospitals and health clinics logged nearly 30,900 visits from patients lacking stable housing between 2019 and 2023. Those encounters point to a far larger population that remains largely invisible. Many steer clear of shelters, some rotate between friends and family, and others disappear entirely within systemic gaps. Every person left uncounted represents unmet needs, complicating efforts to plan services and allocate funding. At the heart of this emergency lies a severe housing shortage that cannot be overlooked. New Mexico lacks more than 32,000 affordable housing units, with Albuquerque alone requiring close to 20,000 additional homes to satisfy current demand. This shortfall leaves thousands suspended in uncertainty, competing for limited options as rents climb and paychecks fail to keep pace. Without the stability of housing challenges like mental health struggles, substance use and employment become far more difficult to address. In response, state officials have begun to act, including a $120 million investment announced in 2025 to expand housing and support services largely directed toward Albuquerque. It is an essential step forward, yet it remains only an initial response. Behind every figure are real people, neighbors, veterans, elders, and children, navigating one of the most difficult conditions in a nation built on opportunity. For audiences, these figures should not remain abstract data points. They are evidence that homelessness is a real and expanding crisis playing out in our own communities. The faces behind the figures. Statistics can seem like nothing more than rows of data. But in New Mexico, every number represents a human being with a story, a past, and struggles no chart can fully show. Walk along Central Avenue in Albuquerque, and you might notice an elderly man resting silently on a bench. He once wore a uniform, served his nation, and owned a home. Today, everything he owns fits inside a single backpack. Head farther south to Las Cruces, and you may encounter a mother carrying groceries, her young child gripping her hand. She holds 2 jobs, yet rent consumes almost all her income, leaving her family to sleep in a shelter each night. In one corner of Doña Ana County sits Camp Hope, a small collection of tents and improvised shelters where roughly 50 people come together after sunset. It isn't pretty, and it offers little security, but within it they share meals, laughter, and a feeling of connection. They are invisible to most, yet they form delicate communities because isolation is even harder to endure. So what brings people here? More often than not, it isn't one mistake, but a series of events. A car crash followed by endless medical debt, a sudden job loss, a separation, or a landlord increasing rent beyond what's affordable. When untreated depression, anxiety, or substance use is added to the mix, the fall into homelessness can happen far quicker than many expect. For those who have never experienced it, the daily reality is difficult to imagine. Where do you store medication when there's no refrigerator? How do you get ready for a job interview when your bed is a public bench? These are not hypothetical questions. They describe the everyday lives of people we walk past without noticing. And in a nation that celebrates opportunity, these stories reveal how unevenly that promise is distributed. This is not a distant or abstract problem. It is a profoundly human crisis playing out across a beautiful state, confronting the hardest realities of being homeless in America. The hidden chain of addiction. Whenever homelessness is discussed, addiction is rarely far from the conversation. In New Mexico, it sits beneath countless personal stories, often unspoken, yet impossible to ignore.
Crack high lasts for like 10, 15 minutes, and then you gotta keep like chasing it. Jacks you up. But then when you do crystal meth, it like makes your eyes, your pupils get dilated to the size of tennis balls.
Damn.
Some people, they say they bust like 4 nuts in one when they snort it.
For many individuals, substances become a means of coping, a way to numb physical pain, endure cold nights, or silence memories that feel overwhelming. Addiction doesn't always begin on the streets, but the absence of stable housing frequently intensifies it. It erodes routine distances, people from jobs, loved ones, and medical care, and too often leads to deep isolation. Among the substances involved, fentanyl has become especially alarming. It is compact, extremely powerful, and destructive, entering lives swiftly and relentlessly. Street outreach workers often describe it as a quiet current sweeping up those already at risk. It steals more than health. It robs time, concentration, and the possibility of starting over. The full scope of the problem is difficult to quantify, but many experts believe a large portion of New Mexico's unhoused population struggles with some level of substance dependence. Access to treatment is limited by distance and funding. Rural communities lack facilities. Urban centers face long waiting lists, and many programs do not offer housing to support recovery. Without a safe place to sleep, how can someone complete detox? Without treatment, how can housing be sustained? Public reaction is often divided. Some view addiction as a danger, while others recognize it as a plea for help. Stigma can wound as deeply as the substances themselves, pushing people further out of sight. Yet addiction is not merely a question of personal failure, it is a public health emergency. Addressing it requires meeting people where they are pairing housing with treatment counseling and ongoing care. Can these approaches truly change outcomes? Can stability and shelter interrupt the cycle? When we speak about being homeless in America, New Mexico shows us that behind every data point are struggles with substances more powerful than will alone, and overcoming them demands not condemnation, but compassion and meaningful action. Policies, money, and the gaps they cannot fill. New Mexico's policymakers have not turned away from the crisis. In recent years, the state has made some of its largest financial commitments to addressing homelessness. In August 2025, officials unveiled a sweeping initiative committing $120 million specifically toward housing and supportive services. On paper, the figures are striking more than $80 million allocated to Albuquerque and Bernalillo County, where demand is most acute. Over $11 million set aside for Las Cruces and Doña Ana County, and the remainder spread among smaller cities and rural regions that are often left out of statewide strategies. This funding targets several areas at once: new housing development, emergency shelter expansion, rental support, and programs such as McKinney-Vento, designed to help children and youth remain connected to school despite housing instability. These investments are meaningful, yet they also expose a hard reality: funding by itself is not enough to end homelessness. Constructing housing is not an instant solution. Every development must navigate layers of rules and approvals. Permits take time, zoning regulations are frequently outdated or restrictive, and shortages in skilled labor push construction schedules far beyond original plans. On top of this, resistance from nearby residents worried about shelters or affordable housing can halt projects before they ever break ground. The size of the problem adds another layer of difficulty. New Mexico lacks more than 32,000 affordable housing units, with Albuquerque alone needing close to 20,000. Closing that deficit is impossible in a single year or two, particularly as rising land and material costs strain every proposal. And homelessness extends far beyond the lack of shelter. It is intertwined with deeper issues: untreated mental illness, substance use, limited employment opportunities, and fragile social support systems. An apartment offers little relief to someone battling addiction without access to care. A shelter bed cannot undo years of trauma or restore income lost to sickness or sudden unemployment. This leads to an unavoidable question: if resources are being invested, why does the crisis persist? Because housing is only the beginning, not the conclusion. If funding is not paired with innovation programs that connect housing with healthcare workforce, training, counseling, and community integration, the result may only be short-term relief. New Mexico's struggle mirrors that of many states, bridging the divide between sincere effort and solutions that truly last. When a community speaks up, no public program, regardless of how much funding it receives, can end homelessness on its own. In New Mexico, some of the strongest and most sincere responses are rising directly from local communities. Faith-based organizations open their doors to serve meals and offer warm spaces to sleep. Nonprofits work behind the scenes, providing job skills, training legal assistance, or short-term housing support. Volunteers, everyday people with full schedules, make time to hand out blankets, bottled water, or simply sit and talk with those too often overlooked. These gestures, modest as they may appear, make up the foundation of the state's grassroots response to homelessness. Still, community reactions are not always unified. Some neighborhoods welcome shelters and outreach services. Others push back, strongly concerned about safety crime and declining property values. Proposed housing developments frequently spark emotional debates at local council meetings. Those worries are genuine, particularly among longtime residents who recall calmer streets and tighter community bonds. At the same time, their concerns often reflect a deeper desire for safety and belonging that feels increasingly fragile. This pull between empathy and anxiety, between helping others and protecting oneself, shapes how homelessness is addressed on the ground across New Mexico. Grassroots initiatives are stepping in where state systems fall short. Food banks operating from church basements prevent families from missing meals. Legal aid groups assist renters facing eviction. Mobile health teams deliver basic medical care directly to encampments. Some organizations even establish tiny home communities or transitional spaces like Camp Hope, offering a measure of stability. These efforts show that solutions do not need to be large-scale to be meaningful. They need to be steady, community-based, and human. Meanwhile, homelessness has become increasingly visible. Encampments now line parks, underpasses, and areas near schools, bringing the crisis into places once thought untouched. This visibility forces communities to confront uncomfortable questions. How can public areas remain safe while respecting human dignity? How do we offer help without causing further harm? Where does compassion end and responsibility begin? New Mexico's experience is not isolated. It reflects challenges faced by states nationwide. Being homeless in America is not solely a matter of legislation. It is about whether neighborhoods choose distance or engagement. And within that choice, every shared meal, every local decision, and every conversation carries more weight than we often realize. The road ahead, hope or more of the same? As we look ahead, New Mexico finds itself at a turning point. The homelessness crisis is undeniable and pressing, yet it still carries the possibility of progress. State and local officials have begun embracing fresh approaches and new funding, directing millions toward housing, mental health care, and community-based initiatives. These moves are critical, but a lingering question remains. Will they be enough to change the trajectory? Specialists warn that without decisive action on underlying problems, shortages of affordable housing, flat wages, and limited access to healthcare and treatment homelessness may continue to grow despite increased spending. Several strategies are already underway. Vacant hotels are being converted into affordable housing, offering immediate homes for families and individuals without rebuilding from the ground up. Unused land is being reshaped into small clusters of tiny homes, an affordable and fast solution that provides both safety and privacy. Outreach teams are working to embed healthcare and counseling directly into housing efforts, understanding that shelter alone cannot succeed if mental illness or addiction remains unaddressed. Albuquerque has announced an ambitious objective, housing 1,000 people by mid-2026. It is a goal worth acknowledging, but it will take more than good intentions. It demands careful planning, consistent leadership, and strong community backing to sustain progress. The path forward also requires a shift in perspective. Statistics reveal the scale of the issue, but they fail to show the people behind the numbers. Too often, those without homes are seen only as figures or news stories, when in truth, they are neighbors, veterans, parents, students, and workers, each with experiences of hardship, strength, and hope. Real change begins when homelessness stops being viewed as someone else's problem and becomes a shared responsibility. So where does each of us fit in? It may start with small steps, learning about local nonprofits, offering time as a volunteer, giving what we can, or simply treating someone on the street with dignity. Communities grow from these simple acts. When repeated across neighborhoods and cities, they create something more powerful than policy alone. They build a sense of belonging. The outcome of New Mexico's efforts has yet to be decided. The resources exist, funding is on the way, and ideas are being tested. Whether hope prevails or the status quo endures will depend on whether leaders, communities, and individuals alike choose to turn concern into meaningful action. A personal reflection, what this really means to me. I've walked New Mexico's streets on chilly mornings, feeling the sharp bite of the desert wind. I've watched people curled beneath worn blankets near freeway exits, their possessions stuffed into plastic bags, their gazes drifting between nowhere and everywhere. It stays with you, and the reality is most never imagined this would be their life. Some once wore uniforms, others raised families, paid their dues, and worked steadily until a job loss, a health crisis, or one sudden turn altered everything. When I reflect on homelessness, my thoughts go beyond statistics or policy plans. I think about individuals' neighbors who have simply lost their balance. We often discuss policy as if it's far removed, yet this crisis is as near as the next stoplight or supermarket. Within every data point is a person who still smiles, still hopes, still longs to belong. What affects me most is the quiet sense of dignity I've witnessed. A man sharing part of his sandwich with someone who had even less. A mother reading a story to her child in a shelter, trying to make bedtime feel familiar. Moments like these remind me that being homeless in America is not only about poverty, it is about resilience, about people clinging to small pieces of ordinary life. I believe real change starts with us. One greeting, one shared meal, one deliberate act of compassion. If we can recognize these men and women not as outsiders, but as part of our collective story, perhaps that is where lasting change truly begins. Closing thoughts, beyond the numbers. New Mexico's homelessness crisis goes beyond policy debates. It serves as a reflection of deeper cracks within society. It reveals what occurs when economic progress excludes some, when addiction remains untreated, and when housing is treated as a market product instead of a basic right. For those who care about politics, public policy, and human lives, this is a moment that demands attention. Homelessness is not limited to major cities or coastal regions. It extends everywhere from desert communities to mountain towns. Within that reality lies both a challenge and a possibility. Being homeless in America is not a rare accident. It is a nationwide measure of our compassion, resilience, and collective priorities. As this chapter comes to an end, the question still stands. Will we rise to that test? Or will the streets keep telling the stories we refuse to listen to?